The gymnasts that have already mastered a fair back hip circle can progress to train back hip circles to push away as a simple introduction to free hip circles. When the gymnast performs the drill and passes the upside down vertical, and the body starts moving up toward the support, they must begin to push the shoulder angle a little bit open while shifting the wrist around and aiming to land on the soft mats placed under the bar instead of ending again back on the support position. As the gymnast gets better, they can increase the cast amplitude and circle around with minimum or no body contact with the bar. Observe how the open shoulder angle action flows into a wrist shifting action required to maintain bar support. In this slow motion, the young gymnast does not shift her wrists right out of her open shoulder action, and instead continues to circle around without shifting the wrist to a controlled support and push away. Her head was also moving too far back instead of close to neutral, and her body position during the cast and circle shows a little pike tip mixed with a lower back arch instead of a single hollow line. Take another look at the head out motion, the body position, and especially how the wrist did not shift back to support during the skill. Notice the wrist shifting action, which is very important for free hip. Observe in this small free hip circle in slow motion how the gymnast keeps his head neutral while the body is hollow through the bottom, with no pike in the hips. When the circle begins to move up again, the gymnast opens the shoulder angle and straightens his body, flowing into a wrist shift without his legs or hips ever touching the bar. Progressively, the gymnast can open the shoulder angle a little earlier and quicker, and he will accomplish a free hip handstand. To build a good initial swing for a free hip circle, it is very important during the cast to move the shoulders off support before the hips come back too close to the bar. Practicing this drill helps gymnasts to move the shoulders back quicker, and also helps them to train shaping their bodies to a hollow position when they lean back to begin a free hip circle. As they get better, they can increase their cast amplitude to horizontal or a little higher. The mats must be soft and elevated enough to minimize the impact of the back landing. This is a fair high cast to free hip circle example. Notice how the gymnast powerfully opens his shoulder angle without changing his hollow body position all the way to the top. Check in the slow motion of the previous example how in his cast the gymnast swings the legs up with a tight arch and then straightens his body while reaching peak height. To begin coming down, the gymnast plunges forward. While passing through the horizontal, he leans the shoulders off support and circles from there in a hollow position. On the swing up, he opens his shoulder angle while keeping a hollow shape. Before attempting the complete free hip circle from a handstand, the gymnasts that are being introduced to this skill begin building up free hip from casts with an increased amplitude. To spot free hips, the coach stays on the opposite side of the bar to the gymnast's support, and when the gymnast's legs begin to swing under the bar, he grabs the nearest leg with both of his hands above the knee, helping the gymnast to open the shoulders angle and move toward the handstand. If the gymnast is raising up with enough momentum and without major problems, he releases the leg and moves his hands very quick to the abdominal area. From there, the hands move again to hold the nearest leg and shoulder to assist the handstand, coming down to support. At the beginning of spotting free hips, the come down from the handstand may be followed by a back hip circle. So eventually the gymnast can start connecting 2 or more free hips in a row. Watch at regular speed the coach's spotting actions while assisting a gymnast learning to perform a small cast to free hip handstand. Progressively, the gymnasts need to increase their cast amplitude to build the required momentum to be able to perform a free hip handstand alone. As an athlete gets better, the coach diminishes the amount of personal lifting energy that he is adding to the skill, until the gymnast is performing the skill alone with the coach standing by to assist only if required. The coach reaching for the nearest leg, both hands already holding the leg before the gymnast is completely upside down, helping to lift the gymnast up to the handstand, Stabilizing handstand position. Before the gymnast attempt a handstand to free hip, they must know how to control their body on the way down from a handstand to a back hip circle. The coach spots the cast handstand holding the nearest leg and shoulder from the side of the bar opposite to the gymnast's support, then guides the gymnast to lean forward while the body comes down, helping to slow the descending phase, and when the body is close to the support, helping the gymnast to lean her shoulders off support to begin the back hip circle. Coach helping to planche down, spotting leg and shoulder. Gymnast slowly passing through horizontal. Coach helping the gymnast to lean shoulders back when she is close to the support. The gymnast beginning a back hip circle with the body close to the bars. As the gymnast gets better with this drill and some other drills to build up a free hip circle, the coach may guide them to begin leaning back when their bodies are closer to the horizontal line like in a real free hip, and eventually begin to spot the handstand down into a real free hip circle. Once the gymnasts have mastered kip cast handstands to free hips, and they have learned how to connect several free hips in a row, dedicating some weekly training to perform a couple of these sets is a great training drill to continue mastering body control, basic technique refinement, and upper body physical preparation. Usually the gymnasts attempt 4 or 5 free hips in a row. They may also connect the last one to a stoop circle to catch the high bar, a glide kip, or some other basic skill. The free hips are supposed to be powerful and technically clean, but if along the way the gymnast opens up too late or too early, they must fight to correct the problem, which teaches them how to get back on track when a technical mistake causes some trouble in a sequence. Notice the power on these free hips, which required excellent physical preparation, and how in this set the gymnast explosively opens her shoulder angle without arching her back. One very common free hip circle mistake is arching the back into a loose position at the same time that the shoulder's angle begins to open. Quickly extending the body from the hollow to a straighter position when the shoulder angle is opening helps to lift the body up. But reaching an unnecessary arched position is an execution deduction, and the penalties are bigger if the legs are loose, like in this example. Powerful gymnasts can demonstrate good free hip handstands with barely any body position change when the shoulder's angle is opening, like in this final example.